The story begins with a young man, a top student and genius swordsman, who has never had any romantic experience and doesn't play games. One day, while chasing after a girl, he is struck by lightning and transported to another world. In this new world, he must survive in a harsh environment with no signal and fight monsters non-stop to level up, accumulate skill points, exchange for high-tier weapons, and unlock the hidden system of the mercenary system, including offense, assassin, and service types. However, his road to leveling up appears to be blocked by an obstacle, the god of death. He feels a sense of fear for the first time and realizes that he is being ruthlessly dominated and controlled. It's as if he is being toyed with, like a cat playing with a mouse. He feels he is being examined and judged by the gods. Despite the obstacles he faces, he never gives up. He keeps going even if he falls, fails, and repeats the process. Giving up is never an option, no matter the success or failure. He is determined to continue his path to killing gods in this new world. His name is Chen Jiqiao. He is a high school student who is good at solving problems. However, he finds himself in a troublesome situation as he has developed a crush on a girl in his class named Xiaomai, known for causing trouble in class but is also good at taking care of dungeons. One day, Xiaomai asks Jiqiao to take care of her homework as she has to run some dungeons with her guild. She then invites him to join her guild, as they need a healer. Jiqiao agrees and receives Xiaomai's ID from entering the game. Later that day, Jiqiao returns home early due to the heavy thunderstorm approaching the city. His mother asks him if there are any packages for him, to which he replies yes and heads to his room. His mother reminds him to come down later for dinner. Jiqiao logs into the game Cosmos, which is the most popular immersive VR online game. He chooses to be a healer, as that is the role Xiaomai mentioned they needed. As it is his first time purchasing Cosmos, he is given the option to choose an outfit, and he decides to dress a little more formally since it's his first day. As the game begins to load, the thunderstorm in the city reaches the red warning level, prompting a message to appear, reminding players to turn off all household appliances to avoid accidents. Jiqiao excitedly prepares for his first date with Xiaomai in the game. But suddenly, the power goes out. He hears a strange noise and investigates, only to find that Xiaomai is missing. He then receives a mission in the triple upload game, but he is still determining what it entails. In episode 2 of our story, we find Chen Jiliao and Xiaomai undergoing teleportation. Jiliao feels like his body is being electrocuted but finds the experience comfortable. Xiaomai thanks Jiliao for coming to her rescue and calls him her hero. Suddenly, Xiaomai slurps loudly, prompting Jiliao to ask her to slow down as her saliva is all over his face. Xiaomai becomes excited and starts shouting Jiliao's name repeatedly. The teleportation process has been intense, but they are both safe. Jiliao realizes he has entered the game and is now in a hot, desert-like environment that feels very realistic. He tries to contact Xiaomai, but her ID needs to be found. He decides to head to the beginner's village, but when he checks the Cosmos map, he finds that his current location needs to be confirmed, and the environmental inclination is desert. Do the coordinates show an area with X and Y? He becomes increasingly concerned about his situation as he is losing a lot of sweat and dehydrating quickly due to the hot weather. He tries to contact customer service for help but receives a message stating that his location is outside the service area. Jiliao attempts to log out of the game, but he cannot. He becomes anxious as he realizes he may be trapped in the game. Suddenly, he receives a message stating that he has triggered a mission named Survive. The task requires him to survive for 8 hours, but he has yet to learn the rewards or failure penalties. Chen Jiliao was feeling frustrated and angry. He had only wanted to play a game with his friend Xueyame, but now he found himself trapped in the game and unable to log out. He had tried every method he knew to escape, but nothing seemed to work. He couldn't even contact anyone outside the game. As the hours passed, Chen Jiliao accepted that he was stuck in the game. He realized that the game's mechanics were incredibly realistic, and he felt the effects of dehydration and fatigue just as he would in the real world. He knew he would surely die if he didn't find a water source soon. Drawing on his knowledge from watching survival shows like Ed Stafford's, Chen Jiliao remembered that limestone often existed near spring water. He decided to explore the rocky area around him for a water source. He hoped that his instincts were correct. After a while, he finally found a water source and eagerly drank from it. He felt relieved that his immediate survival needs had been met, but he could not escape the game. He checked his in-game map and found that he was in an unconfirmed area of the game's environmental climate, specifically in a desert. The map function could not show regions already explored, so he knew he had to be careful as he searched for food. Chen Jiliao checked his stats and equipment, realizing that as a level 1 healer, he had meager stats and no attack skills. He felt vulnerable and knew that if he encountered a monster, his only option would be to run. He wondered how he could trigger specific conditions to gain new skills. Looking at his equipment, he was surprised to find an iron sword as his first piece of equipment as a healer. He equipped all his gear and felt the sword's weight in his hand. He noticed the sword's durability was displayed, and it was already at 1%. Chen Zhiliao felt like everything in the game was visualized, down to the wearing down of his equipment. As he set out to find food, Chen Zhiliao heard a strange sound and decided to investigate. He stumbled upon a cave filled with animal skeletons and realized that he had seen these teeth marks before in a book. Suddenly, he heard low growling sounds and realized that desert wolves were nearby. These monsters were level 5, speedy and robust, with a crushing attack with 200% damage. Chen Zhiliao knew that he had to fight, even though he had no attack skills and was disadvantaged. He brought out his sword, ready to face the wolves. If he lost, he knew that he would die. During his first year of high school, he was the president of the Swift Kendo Club and became the youngest to reach the 6th stage of Kendo in China. But why did he learn Kendo? It's simple. His mother was a big fan of Kendo celebrity Kamuna Kani from China, so she had her son learn Kendo from a young age. At first, the boy thought Kendo was easy, just wearing fancy clothes and making fancy moves. However, when he started practicing, he realized that this sport was anything but easy. Facing an opponent in a Kendo suit, listening to your breathing and heartbeat while fighting with another, can surround you with an inexplicable sense of fear. It may even swallow your body entirely, making it hard to react and adapt. This kind of fear stems from weakness. The only way to make yourself strong is to keep practicing, strengthening, and pushing yourself. So he used all his spare time to repeat movements thousands of times in the dojo, even without air conditioning. He kept training and brandishing his Kendo sword despite failing and getting injured. Even after becoming China's youngest 6th-stage Kendo practitioner, he never stopped training. In this world, where the strong devour the weak to reign supreme, you'll never know how horrifying your next opponent may be. Now, while fighting a beast, he thought it was underestimating him, and there was no effect while attacking with the sword, which seemingly puzzled him. He remembered that the desert wolf's weakness was its abdomen. He realized that attacking places other than the abdomen was ineffective. The wolf attacked him again, and he said, "Damn it. Knowing its weakness doesn't change anything. This thing is way too fast. And every time it attacks, it does so with the intent to kill. If attacks have no effect, I can only defend, which will drag out until I eventually die." He remembered what his grandpa said when he left, but will he die in a hellhole just like that? He now knew what to do. He tried another skill with the mindset that if that had an effect, then he should be able to kill it. Blood splattered as the wolf injured him. He saw that it seemed impossible for the attack to affect the wolf this time. But intentionally, he had just let the wolf bite him on purpose so that it would let down its guard and its weakness would be exposed. And with this, he summoned more courage to fight again, and he eventually won. Just now, I let the wolf bite me on purpose so it would let down its guard and expose its weakness. He felt the game was getting pretty interesting, and after leveling up, his wounds completely healed. This is a game world, after all. Like any other game, killing mobs grants experience, and leveling up gives skill points that can be used to increase stats. But what is this hidden mall system? When he unlocked the mall, he saw that, aside from weapons and defensive equipment, there were even household and electronic appliances that cost many levels to unlock. Who would buy home appliances in a game? After he unlocked the game, he saw many mercenaries, defense types, magic types, and assassination types, and these are the only things he can redeem with his current levels. But this should be good enough for now. He realized that the system had shown him the skill points earlier. His status has completely recovered, but he still has no clue what the conditions for activating a skill are. For now, he will have to depend on increasing his stats to save his life. He said that the points could not be adjusted after assigning them, and these stats would probably directly decide his future in the game. Even the desert wolf he killed earlier had more strength and speed than him. It all seemed strange to him. He had seen someone passing, but the werewolf corpses were still there, so he was not mistaken about seeing someone pass by. He wondered if there could be other players like him who were also trapped. Then he discovered something even stranger. The blood in the bodies of the wolves seemed to have been sucked away by something. He wondered if that could be another player who had used a cruel method. But he quickly realized that the thing that killed these wolves was not a human but a monster of an even higher level. This was a monster of a different magnitude compared to the desert wolves he had fought before. He might have died if his agility hadn't been raised immediately after leveling up. A dominant creature in the desert with absolute speed survived on the blood of other animals, and no one could escape its hunt. Even though he had prepared to face all sorts of monsters, the fierce killing intent of this creature was overwhelming. He felt like the monster had pressed him into the ground, rendering him unable to move. He felt like he was waiting to be hunted by it, but this was the first time he had felt something so terrifying. but he decided not to let it scare him. He was amazed by the so-called absolute speed the system had mentioned before. He thought of a recent blow that could have taken his life and wondered what the monster was trying to do. Was it giving him a weapon, or was it trying to lure him in? He wanted to cut its neck, but this scene felt like déjà vu. When a cat catches a mouse, it doesn't eat it immediately. Instead, it plays with its prey. As he faced the monster, he realized that ordinary attacks couldn't hurt him. He called the beast a bastard and wondered how it could speak. When the monster called him a human and compared his kind to maggots, he replied by imagining the beast as a larva with a dung beetle brain. The demon laughed, saying it had been hundreds of years since it had last met a human and that it was exhilarated to do so. But he was not moved by the monster's words. He still had a long life ahead of him and refused to die in a place like that. He forced out his powers and activated his extraordinary fighting spirit, along with the special blessing of the god Latinea. All his stats increased to 100. He charged at the monster full force and attacked it, but his weapon's durability reached 0% and broke, becoming unusable. He had no choice but to use his fists to attack the monster to take its experience. But the demon made him look foolish, mocking him like a maggot. Still, he believed he could beat the monster despite his current condition. But it was too late. The beast gathered all its strength and summoned a powerful attack, which killed him in the game as a player. As he slowly opened his eyes, he realized he was back in the real world. Relief washed over him as he scanned his body and saw that he was unscathed. But how did he get here? Did he quit the game, or was he still trapped in it? Confused and disoriented, he heard the sound of a door opening and saw a beautiful lady enter the room. Excitedly, he called her, letting her know he was awake. The lady shouted to her grandfather that he had woken up and immediately became anxious, as the game finally landed him in the beginner's village. But he soon learned he was wrong. This was not the game or the beginner's town. He asked them how he got back here, and they told him that he was found by the grandfather while hunting, near death but not quite dead. They also informed him that they were not NPCs or players from the game. He was incredulous, insisting that this was still the game's world. He showed them his game status tab, mission tab, equipment tab, and mini-map, but they only stared at him in confusion. He was desperate to leave and find the GM and Sioma's game ID. However, the grandfather informed him that nobody could leave the Latinea desert, where they were presently located. They were imprisoned here, and the only way to gain freedom was to find the location of the Temple of Kebri, which is said to be in the never-ending maze of the desert. The young lady explained that a thunderstorm transported them here while hunting giant dragons on the Bergama continent. The grandfather added that even gods could be imprisoned here, and countless people have set out to find the temple, but none have ever returned alive. The young man gradually accepted his fate as reality began to set in. He was trapped in this place with no way out. The grandfather suggested they walk around the town, but the young man was still convinced he was in the game. Was he transported directly into the game, just like in Manhwa's? He couldn't shake the feeling that he was still trapped in the game and was determined to find a way out. Although he still didn't know why he was sent there, at least he still had a goal. As long as he could find the Temple of Kebri and kill Nabris, he could return to the world. While he was lost in thought, a young lady called out to him, asking what he was doing there and why he was there. She had been looking for him. He apologized and said he had nothing to do, so he went for a walk. He described the Latinea desert to the young lady, but she informed him that the Latinea desert surrounded the place they were in. This meant that it would take a while to locate the temple. The young lady asked if he would look for the temple, and he said yes. Sally warned him that there were many strong monsters in the desert, some of which even Grandpa Auber couldn't defeat. He assured her that he was a skilled fighter and could handle himself. Suddenly, they were attacked by Bobin. Chen was surprised and asked what was going on. Sally blocked the attack with a wall of fire. When asked why they were being attacked, Sally explained that the hunter-thieves in the area were scarier than the monsters. They weren't willing to hunt in Latinea, so they often stole items from others. They were also a group of cowards who hunted and killed their kind for a living. Bobin said Sally had run away last time, but escaping this time wouldn't be easy. Sally then told Chen to go back and find Grandpa Auber while she dealt with the attackers. Grandpa Auber noticed that a thunderstorm was on its way again, the same one that brought them to their current location. He commented that Sally should already be back from town by now. Bobin interjected and asked if Sally thought he would allow Chen to find the old man. He told Sally that her spells couldn't hurt him, so it would be better for her to return obediently with him. Sally replied that he only dreamed if he thought she would do that. Bobin warned Sally not to blame him if he became rude. Sally told Chen that she would think of a way to stop them and that he should leave in time. However, Chen refused to leave, stating that the word escape did not exist in his dictionary. Although they had only known each other for a short time, Chen was not someone who could abandon his companions and leave by himself. Bobin attacked Chen, calling him trash and asking who he thought he was. Chen twisted Bobin's wrist and questioned whether he used his strength to attack him. Bobin conceded that Chen's strength could dislocate his wrist and that he was fast. Sally expressed concern for Chen's well-being, but he reassured her that he was okay. Sally asked Bobin what he was trying to accomplish. He said he had repeatedly requested Sally to be his girlfriend, but she rejected him. Sally told Bobin they couldn't be together and advised him to give up. Chen suggested that Bobin was doing everything nervously so that Sally could be his girlfriend. Bobin asked if Sally had chosen Chen over him, to which Sally replied that Chen was just a friend. Bobin accused Sally of making excuses and challenged Chen to a battle, stating that he would stop bothering Sally if Chen won. Chen accepted the challenge, and Sally asked if he could win. She warned him that Bobin was the strongest shadow swordsman in town and that sworders who used the power of shadows had a speed advantage and surprisingly physical solid strength.
It's the end of this video.
What?
Like and subscribe for more videos.